always overpowering my bazooms. Oh hey, hi, it's me, Wilma Fingerdoo with the Fingerdoo review of RuPaul's Drag Race Season 13, Episode 14. Oh God, we're almost at the end. I can see the light at the end of the tunnel, or else Jesus is calling me home. But before we pull this train into the station, I absolutely must thank this week's Tipperdoos. First and foremost, Jennifer Spain Green, my unofficial Fingerdoo review YouTube channel greeter. I think she responds to more YouTube messages than I do. I'm so serious. She dropped by to shower me with some birthday cheer. I love you, JSG. Thanks for your inspiring love and support. I'm so serious. Speaking of birthday cheer, I also got some love from a birthday twin and Patreon supporter, James Montgomery. Thanks, James, and a hearty happy birthday to you too, doll. Seriously. I also want to thank Cleopatra's Bath. It sounds dirty, and yet it's still a bath. Susan Nicolai, who called me a class act. Well, I've been called worse, Susan. I won't lie. Also, Rodney Erickson, Charlotte Green, Miss Person Unknowable, and Elaine Alden for their birthday love. Techno Hillbilly also thanked me for calling them Techno and not Hillbilly. Well, you're welcome, Techno. What can I say? I always go with the first name first, seriously. Thanks also to Laura Hubbard, Olivia Finkelman from Denmark, Claudia Stein, and my East Coast flirt, John Dwyer, who also wished me a happy birthday. Thanks so much, John. Seriously. If you want to be a Tipperdo, the link is down below in the description box. Speaking of down below, if you haven't subscribed to my channel and this isn't your first visit, I would be so grateful if you could hit that subscribe button. Seriously. I also want to send a shout out to Lar D'Souza, who created 3 new illustrations. A Hirschfeld-inspired caricature of me as Auntie Mame, Wilma Girl, which was inspired by the Funny Girl movie poster, and, of course, his mystery design. Right now, if you're a member of my YouTube channel, you can enter to win a t-shirt with this mystery design on it, if you correctly guess what movie this outfit is from. Here's a hint. It's not Cats. I will be making a draw from all the correct answers at the end of April, so get on it, I'm so serious. The links to my YouTube membership and Redbubble are also in the description box down below. Now, Jorge, drink me. Ooh, look at this. No garnish. What? Oh, no point gilding the lily? You're so full of it, Jorge. Ooh, it's a Marga Wilma, which of course is my quick and easy margarita. Fresca and tequila, shut up. So, we kick this episode off by saying goodbye to Olivia, although no one seemed too upset about it. Elise Gottmik acknowledged how far she got after just a year of doing drag. The rest of the queens were more interested in comparing how many wins they all had. Of course, Symone was in the lead with 4, Gottmik was second with 3, Rosé had 2, and Candy was bringing up the rear with her 1 recent win. Not that Candy was bothered. She knows she has what it takes to snatch that crown for herself. I would have found that easier to believe if Candy wasn't still wearing that awful outfit from last week, I'm just saying. Symone was feeling a 4-way finale might be in their future. She wasn't wrong. Rosé's hard edge was showing itself with her "athletes don't go to the Olympics to make friendship bracelets" comment. I mean, she's right, but I just don't think you have to be dismissive of others to win. Is it just me? As the queens de-dragged, there was some wig swapping going on, although I don't know if this number actually qualified as a wig. It looked more like something they pulled out of a dumpster fire. I'm just saying. The next day, the queens were in good spirits, probably because no one had been eliminated yet. Candy asked what, if anything, the queens had planned for the prize money when they won. The queens all said they'd invest it back into their drag, but Candy surprised them all by saying she wanted to buy a boat. Really? A boat? She couldn't even come up with a reason why. No wonder her runway looks have been all over the place this season. She doesn't seem to have any plans for her drag or her future at all. But you go on, Candy, you buy that boat. You could tell the other queens were thinking, what was she thinking? But before anyone could voice their opinion, there was Ru's video message calling them all back to the here and now. Although the only thing anyone seemed to get out of the message was that not a one of them knows what indelible means. Seriously, has no one ever used an indelible marker? Hello? Sharpies, anyone? While they were all scratching their watches and winding their butts, Ru arrived to give them their final maxi challenge. They would be performing the world premiere of Ru's song Lucky, which of course meant that the queens would be writing and performing their own verse, working with the delicious Jamal Sims, and getting interviewed by Ru and Michelle, this time for Inside Drag Race. Personally, Ru had me at 13-year-old Tic Tacs. They're still good, right? The only thing I paid attention to was Ru saying that in 2 weeks, they would be crowning the winner of season 13. 2 weeks? Ugh, that means there's going to be a reunion look-back episode. Son of a... As the queens got down to writing, it seemed to me that Candy was more interested in throwing shade. Seriously, does she just think things happen without any effort? If I had worn outfits as rough as hers were this season, I certainly wouldn't be focused on anything but writing some killer lyrics. But then we're very different people. Just saying. Rosé's penmanship also seemed to distract Candy, but then at this point I feel that air would distract her. But while they were all admiring Rosé's handwriting, Candy asked if she was going to sing all her lyrics. Rosé was still thinking about closing her verse off with a little rap, which surprised Candy because that seems to be the one thing that Rosé hasn't done this season. That's when Rosé admitted to writing personalized raps and filming them for fans. Kinda like Cameo, but with way more effort. Symone was going to sing, kind of. It sounded to me like she was going to rely more on humor than musicality, while Gottmik, on the other hand, just wanted to hug the world and wrap it in rainbows and unicorns. Yeah, because that's how brag tracks work. Thank goodness Candy pointed out that all her live performance challenges landed her in the bottom, because I was starting to think that she hadn't noticed I'm so serious. While all this was going on, the queens had their individual interviews with Ru and Michelle for Inside Drag Race. First up, Gottmik. This was a fun interview. We found out that both Gottmik and Michelle got top surgery around the same time. That Gottmik's name is a convoluted amalgamation of her family's name and her first name, but after a comment from Michelle, Ru's just going to go ahead and call her baby Gottmik. To tell the truth, I would listen to this interview in its entirety, but this edited version was too much of a giggly love fest for me to get invested in. Suffice it to say, Gottmik is a hoot, no matter who's talking to her. She gorge. Rosé was next, and the thing that surprised me the most about this interview was finding out that she's only been doing drag for 3 years. I have to admit, I wasn't that impressed by Rosé until that moment. She's done a lot in 3 years. Let's hope she figures out those eyebrows in the next 3. God bless Candy Muse. Most of her on-air interview was about her trials and tribulations this season, and the biggest tribulation was that outfit last week. It was telling to hear that the rest of the queens told Candy backstage that they liked her outfit. Yeah, probably because they thought it would send her home. I'm just saying. I have to say, Candy admitting that she's delusional when it comes to the judges' critiques helped me warm up to her. Just a little bit more. At least it helped make sense of her wanting a boat. I mean, what kind of boat? Where would she keep it? Is no one else filled with questions? Speaking of questions, Michelle asked Symone what she uses on her skin to make it look so luscious. Apparently it's just baby oil. Well, now I hate her. Me and Ru. That's it. That's what she gets. I loved hearing about how Symone not only got connected to the House of Avalon in Arkansas, but how the house, as a group, all moved to LA together to pursue their dreams. Here's to taking chances, I'm just saying. Another thing I loved hearing was how Symone's drag persona helped her to be the person she didn't allow herself to be as a kid. I have to say, this was my favorite interview by far. And then it was on to choreography with Jamal Sims, and you could tell the queens were focused because no one flirted with Jamal. Now that's pressure. Symone and her 3 left feet were first, and even though it was a rough start for our Symone, Jamal coaxed the sexy out of her. Lord knows he coaxed the sexy out of me more than once, I'm just saying. Gottmik was next, and the first thing that impressed me was Jamal pointing out that Gottmik isn't a 5, 6, 7, 8 kind of dancer. She lets the lyrics move her. So his approach with her was to put her moves with the lyrics. I thought that was genius. Candy's choreo was fun, although it really did need some refinement, but at least she had the basics down. Rosé picked her choreo up so quickly that she impressed Jamal and scared those other queens, which is what I think Rosé was going for. Good for her. The next day was Elimination Day. There was a lot of mutual adoration going on, but then it was the beginning of the day. But as warm and friendly as they all were, Rosé was ready to show girls a queen to get to that crown. To keep the narrative flowing, Symone asked what everyone's first impressions of each other were. Gottmik thought Rosé was a shy little angel. She's since gotten over that. Symone admitted that she didn't care for Rosé at first, but now she's warmed up to her. I still didn't hear the word like. Symone also told Candy that she thought she was going to be the loud queen, but was enjoying seeing her softer, quieter side. Quieter? When does that start? Gottmik told the queens that her friends were worried about her doing any comedy challenges, but her experience on the show has made her want to give up makeup and focus on being a comedian. Gasp. The best thing Gottmik said was how worried she was coming into the competition, representing not just the trans community, but trans men. There's so little representation out there, and she's discovered that the best way she can represent her community is to just be herself. Wise words indeed. It certainly wasn't what I was told growing up. Just saying. Symone had an emotional moment saying how the competition had helped her unpack a lot of issues she's had about herself so she can shine as the true diva she's always been. Well done, Symone. Seriously. We're all better for watching your journey, doll. Seriously. And then it was time for the runway. I just loved Ru's outfit. And that wig was everything. Although, it did look like it, I don't know, there was something going on. It went back and then forward. It was like a ledge, like maybe to keep the rain off her face. I don't know. Michelle Visage looked particularly glamorous with her bejeweled shoulders. Carson Kressley's glittery jacket almost upstaged him. Almost. What upstaged everyone actually was Ross Matthews' lucky jewelry. How could it not? Up first was the world premiere of RuPaul's new single, Lucky. First off, I love this song. The tempo was popping, the lyrics were fun. The only thing I didn't understand was why the queens were all dancing around in lingerie. Were they going to get lucky after the shoot? Again, I'm filled with questions. Gottmik's verse was first, and I thought it was the best of the bunch. Lyrically, it flowed. She also looked amazing, and she killed her choreo. Tick, tick, tick. I thought Candy looked gorgeous, but I did find some of her lyrics hard to... Okay, all of her lyrics. I didn't understand a word she said. Rosé's lyrics were okay, but I felt that she tried to cram too many elements into her verse. It felt forced to me, but she looked good. Symone's was another lyric that I didn't like as much as I thought I would. Where I felt Rosé did too much, I thought Symone didn't do enough. She had a lot of drawn-out words that felt like they were being used to fill up her verse, in my opinion. But she looked gorgeous, as if there was any doubt. All in all, I liked the song. I'd like to hear Ru's original, but I would buy this one off of iTunes if, well, I did that sort of thing. In my opinion, the queen that stood out in this performance was Gottmik. But then that's just me. And then it was time for the runway. Gottmik was first, and I didn't like this look when I first saw it. The polka dots were distracting, especially the ones on her face. It made her mouth look cockeyed. I know it sounds rude, but the longer I looked at it, the more it grew on me. Those nude cutouts in the fabric and in her makeup were inspired, and the cut of that gown was everything, so I gave it a Fingerdoo. I didn't hate Candy's runway, especially when you compare it to some of the things she's worn this season, but for me it wasn't a finale dress. But still, it was cute, so I'm giving it a Fingerdoo. Not the full Fingerdoo, mind you, it's more of a Pinky-doo, because that was my drag queen name in high school. I'm going to take a risk here and admit that I didn't like Rosé's runway. First off, when she first stepped onto the runway, she looked like she was waiting for a bus. Her makeup didn't seem to be blended, and that wig was kind of flat on top. It looked like you could rest a cocktail on her head. Not that there's been complaints. And then there was that brown belt holding that dress together. I love plaid, But this dress needed something to break it up. A wider belt that matched her gloves would have helped, but the fact that those gloves were lace was just another pattern she didn't need on her body. On top of that, I understand, she's Scottish, she wanted to wear a tartan, but every family in Scotland belongs to a clan, and those clans have two tartans. Their dress tartan, which is what Rosé had on, it's usually a darker tartan, and then they have a hunter's tartan, which is usually a little brighter, so that you don't shoot each other in the woods, I'm assuming. If she had used two tartans from the same clan, I would have felt the dress wouldn't have swallowed her up as much. As it was, it looked like she'd wrapped herself up in some fabric and her figure got lost in it, so I gave this look a finger don't. But I did like that she had a sporran as a purse. Thank goodness for Symone's dress, because I immediately forgot what the other queens were wearing. Those sleeves were everything. I wouldn't be surprised if Symone got a call from Celine Dion asking to borrow it. I'm so serious. The cut was divine. The bare shoulders, perfection. The split up the front helped her from looking like she was being swallowed by the fabric. Something Rosé could have used in her look, I'm just saying. Symone's hair was also perfection. The combination of jewelry and cornrows gave it a beautiful Marcel 1920s wave feel that I was living for. This was a 5-finger do for me, just saying. And then it was time for the judges' critiques. Now, I don't know if the judges didn't want to give any of the queens a bad critique because they were afraid of the fans trashing them on social media, or if they felt there was no point in being critical at this stage of the game, but no one got any criticism, constructive or otherwise. Just lots of love. It's sweet. One moment that's worth mentioning to me was Ru's weirdly emotional moment talking to Gottmik about her journey, especially where her parents were concerned. I don't know why, but it came off as completely ingenuine to me, but it was received by Gottmik as being heartfelt, and really that's all that matters. Once the love fest was over, it was time for Ru to whip out those baby photos, which I love. Gottmik talking to her 2-year-old self was poignant because of all the queens, she's really gone through the most to be who she is today. Candy told her younger self not to blame herself for things she can't control, which is something we all need to tell ourselves from time to time, if you ask me, I'm just saying. Rosé had some lovely things to say about her parents' love and how not everyone has that in their lives. It's sad because it's true. Symone had the most emotional moment talking to her 3-year-old self. She told herself not to believe what people say about her and to love herself and live her dream. I'm telling you, I needed a tissue by the time she was done. I'm not lying. Back in the Untucked Lounge, the queens commented on how much love they got from the judges. See, I wasn't the only one. Candy talked about how her baby photo brought up a lot of memories for her. Symone reflected on how hard she'd been on herself, and as hard as that was, it was part of the journey that got her to where she is today, so she couldn't be totally mad at it. Of course, they also commented on Ru's emotional display with Gottmik, who was very appreciative of that support. Not just from Ru, but from all the queens. I was also impressed with Gottmik saying how unfair it was for her to just expect her parents to accept her gender awareness when she came out, when in reality, she had been coming to terms with it way longer than them. Well said, Gottmik, I'm just saying. And then Rosé got a surprise, a video message from her younger brother, Louis. He talked about how proud the whole family was and how Rosé said that she would be on Drag Race, and now here she was. It was a beautiful message and really touched Rosé's heart. It also impressed the other queens because Rosé's whole family's behind her and supporting her. It's not how it is with everyone, I'm just saying. But the surprises didn't stop there. As the queens were talking about chosen families, Symone started talking about her mom and how she put up some walls where she was concerned. And right when she was saying how much she missed her mom, there she was in a video message. It was really touching to see the love that they both have for each other. And even if it was a rocky road for both of them, the support Symone's mom has for her now is remarkable. Give me those tissues again. And then it was back to the main stage where Ru told the queens that they were all going to have to lip sync for their lives. But they weren't going to do it all at once. They would be lip syncing one at a time. Alone. Gasp. They all did well. I liked them performing one at a time because it let us see each one without distraction. My fave was Symone because it was a Whitney Houston song, and her dabbing herself with a towel really brought it home for me. What can I say? I'm a sweater. Candy danced it out a little more than I think the song required, in my opinion. Rosé, on the other hand, danced it out just enough, and Gottmik didn't do as badly as I feel she would have if the other queens were lip-syncing beside her. And then Ru asked 3 queens to step forward. Gottmik, Candy, and Rosé, leaving Symone standing there holding it together beautifully, but alone. And then psych, Ru called Symone's name too. Of course she did. Of course she did. As expected, all 4 queens are going to the finale. The love fest continues. So, what do you think? Should all 4 queens go to the finale? And if not, who should have sashayed? Personally, I felt that Candy was the weakest, but could she pull it out of the fire and win it all? I don't know. The other 3 queens had much stronger showings this season. I mean, they've all won more challenges than Candy. Am I sorry that she's going to the finale? Not at all. Do I think she'll surprise me and snatch the crown? Not at all. What about you? Who do you think will be crowned Season 13's winner? For me, it's a toss-up between Symone or Gottmik, but Rosé winning wouldn't bother me either. All we can do is tune into RuPaul's Drag Race in 2 weeks to see how it all plays out. And in the meantime, we've got this reunion episode to watch next week. That'll be fun. But I'm still going to review it. So, until next week, don't forget to like this video if you did. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't. And until next week, miss me! Mwah! Seriously, Jorge. I know it's a slap in the face to send somebody home the week before crowning, but seriously, if I'm not going to win, tell me. Pull that Band-Aid off quick is what I'm saying. I do wonder if they take into consideration the fan base, not on a retaliation side, but a financial side. If one of the queens isn't on, will her fans just not watch the finale? What would that do to their advertising dollars? Still, I think if Candy won the whole thing, I wouldn't be upset, but I would definitely question life. I'd go forward a little more timidly and not being so sure of things. But after the 1.5 years we've had, worse things have happened, I'm not lying. You don't think this bow is too big? Make me look thinner? As long as it doesn't make me look fatter, that's all I care about, seriously.